Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another guide. This time we have the bow and arrow. This is the Sova equivalent of Deadlock, the Grey Talon. Some call him Arrow Grandma, but I think his looks are gonna get redone at some point soon, because I don't think he's gonna be shooting a nerf bow forever. He has a pretty cool toolkit. His first ability is a charge shot. You can charge it up like this and release. You can also hold mouse 1, so it's easier to charge it up and aim. So you can do the same, but this time I'm holding mouse 1, so I can release my other hand or do movements while aiming down. This one becomes more powerful when you level it up, and on max level, it has a shorter charge delay too, so you can almost shoot them again instantly. Do very powerful burst and scales very well with Spirit. You see it as a 2.5x Spirit multiplier. So this one can do extreme damage in late game. Next up we have Rain of Arrows. It makes him float in the air like this. And his arrows are now cleaving. He's shooting multiple arrows. And you have some basic upgrades to it as well. This is especially relevant if you plan to play Gun Talon. I usually play Spirit, but either way, it's important to have in mind. And then he has an immobilizing trap. This one was recently changed to immobilize for slightly shorter time, but also has a slow after. And it's pretty straightforward. You toss it like this, and the targets will eventually run into it like that. They also get revealed for a short amount of time, and is a pretty strong crowd control tool. Last one is his ult. It's the Guided Owl. If you want to use the build I have called Early Bird Hybrid, you can find this in game. It focuses on using the Guided Owl early game, because this one, every time you get a kill with this one, it permanently increases your spirit by 5. And early game, it's easier to get kills with this one because it does more damage. So yeah, you essentially want to use this one, as we're gonna see now that we go into a game.
There will be no escape.
So you can control it around like this, and you can accelerate it by pressing mouse 1, and then either by crashing into the ground or pressing space, you can detonate it like that. So first thing I want to say is that Grey Talon is not an ideal solo laner. You can get away with it, but it's definitely not ideal. Little sick shot there, by the way, at the start. And the reason why it's not ideal is because not only is his projectile very slow, meaning it's going to be hard to last hit the orbs, he also has a very slow lane shove, meaning that if he plays against heroes like McGinnis or Seven, who uses their abilities to shove the lane much faster, you might struggle with keeping the lane pressure up, and you'll constantly find yourself just sitting behind your tower and trying to last it. And because it's easier to last it the closer you are, this is not very beneficial for Grey Talon. So right now I'm just trying to play it extremely safe. It's not a extremely advantageous situation for me. My biggest advantage is how much burst damage I do with my charge shot, which is why I try my best to use it as often as possible, to make him play less aggressive. So see, right now I'm already forced to just play under my tower, and I try to do melee last hits, because if you didn't know, when you melee last hit, the orb is already consumed, meaning that they cannot deny your last hit, which is even more important for a hero like Grey Talon, because his attack animation is really bad until you get high velocity ammo. So trying to melee last hit as much as possible increases your chance of not being denied, because most heroes have better gun animations. So because I'm taking a lot of harass damage here, I do start with an extra regen. Like I mentioned earlier, this is my Early Bird Hybrid build. So if you want to search up my name in game, you can find it and try it out for yourself. It's the only build I have so far that is multiple choice. It starts off with a core, and then you can choose to either go into gun damage late game or spirit damage late game, depending on what your situation is, how aggressive your teammates and your enemies are, and how you're feeling about playing it in general. So yeah, not much too exciting stuff happening here. This is a typical solo lane. I think in this case we are very happy with just being even. Considering how much Seven is pressuring us here at the tower, he's not actually getting that much out of it. Because when you're pressuring the tower, you also make it easier for them to go for last hits without being in danger. Okay, I went for a little cheeky play there, but it didn't quite work because I missed. So also think about that if you're pushing their Guardian, what is your goal? Is it to take the Guardian down? Is it to easier harass the opponents? Yeah, like try to have an idea behind why you're doing it in the first place. But yeah, so far I'm playing fairly passive. I'm just trying to kind of make it till 3k souls, which is when I get my owl. I actually get 2 points in charge shot first for the early game, and then max ult. That's what I do. Now we are at 3000 souls, and we're now starting to upgrade our owl as soon as we can. One thing that is very crucial at this stage, now that you've kind of made it through the quote-unquote hardest part, especially in a solo lane, is look at the map all the time. Look at especially the health bars of these heroes, and try to think about who's a very potential kill target here. So for instance, you can see that they have Yamato and Viscus. Even if Yamato and Viscus are low, you're not likely to kill them because they both can use abilities to stop from taking damage. Either way, I did send my bird because I saw that Wraith was taking damage. And this is where communication comes into play. If you play a hero like Grey Talon and you focus especially on the ult early game, you need to tell your team if they can go in or not, because it has a very short cooldown once it's leveled up, and it becomes super beneficial, and you can help any lane on the map. So communication is very, very important with this specific thing. Yes, I got confused with the teams, I'm sorry. Okay, so looking at this, Ivy is not a good target, for instance, because she can use her immunity when you're hitting with her owl. Abrams is not a good target because he has very high health pool, and until you get a maxed ult, you don't really have that kind of damage to take down Abrams. So this is something to have in mind of like how much your kill potential is. I'm sorry that I looked at the wrong team there. It's a little bit confuzzling in the replay. But yeah, so far we are very happy. We are even with a 7, and he hasn't really pressured our Guardian too much. And we're just kind of farming our basic items. You'll hit a very... Oh, and here Yamato comes in to try to gank for me. We get him pretty low. We're trying to go for a bird here, see if that kills him. It does not. Very close. But in general, you are pretty squishy and weak in the beginning, so you don't want to try to take fights too much. You want to stay in the background. You are not a frontline fighter. And this is something that is very important, and this is why I think Grey Talon has a very low win rate. I think a lot of people play him and they consistently get out of position and they die very easily. So your big advantage as Grey Talon is that you have what we call global presence, meaning that if your team is fighting on the opposite side of the map, you can actually help them with your ults, even if you're not even close. And the reason why this is important is because this means that Grey Talon is one of the heroes who can kind of play major parts of the game as a lone wolf. You're constantly pushing a side lane, you're constantly clearing your jungle, and so on. Now I'm looking for another bird opportunity. Flying around a bit, didn't really go well. By the way, be careful when you're birding. They can kill you because you're standing still. So make sure you find a safe spot to send your owl from, or you'll end up dying before coming back. So you'll notice that I haven't really moved from my lane yet. I'm going for a cheeky kill here. Nice, we got a nice little jump kill there for free. But we're not really, not much fancy stuff to be done so far. We're not really trying to gank much. We're kind of just like guarding our lane and farming and keeping our net worth up as much as possible. And see, Yamato's coming for a gank on 7 again, and the bird comes in. The bird stuns too, by the way. So with stuff like 7 ult and Bebop ult, it actually gets interrupted by the owl, which is also pretty important too. Another thing important to mention that I totally forgot to mention in the beginning was that both his attack speed and his movement speed scales with his spirit power. Now, think about the fact that you have a infinitely scaling guided owl ability. Like every time you get a kill, you get 5 spirits, plus all the spirit items you're gonna eventually buy. This means that you can be extremely fast as long as you don't get caught. Which is why you're staying in the front line. See, as soon as a fight happens here, I try to run away and play in the back lines, because once I get chased like this, it's kind of over. Try to go for a little juke here, do some damage, but yeah. When you get caught out like that, you're usually dead. That was actually the last tick from the Infernus Afterburn. Unlucky, very balanced. So what I'm doing right now here on this side is basically just making sure that every jungle camp on our side of the map is cleared. I'm not the one who's going to be pushing the lanes the furthest. If I get caught out, I'm usually dead. I'm just constantly looking for ways to play behind my team. This is very risky, by the way, if you see an Abrams like that, but I managed to dodge him. See how I waited with my rain of arrows and used it after Abrahams jumped, and I managed to kind of get a cheeky dodge, but it's a little bit scary. Let's see here. Okay, here comes a short-range bird. So this is one thing that is important to think about. You notice how I was actually next to them there, but I chose to use my owl to try to kill him. And the reason for that is now I got another 5 spirits. So now we already have 10 spirits just from getting ult kills. That is already a significant amount if you think about how much it costs to actually get 10 spirits. Oh, can we get away here? Oh boy. And you notice how low the cooldown of the guided owl is? So whenever a fight breaks out, I'm constantly there with my owl to try to assist. See there? Wait, how much damage was that? Let me just wait a minute. Wait a minute. How much health does she have here? Yeah, so as you can see, going for early focus on the owl, you can be incredibly powerful, and it can throw your enemies off guard, especially when it's maxed out, because not only does it do 400 damage, but it also executes them under a certain amount of health, which is why that Ivy just got melted. I'm assuming she did not have any spirit resistance, and she will probably be buying it after that. But yeah, so with this kind of build where now you can see my goal is to efficiently scale up as much spirit power as possible. Because right now, my total spirit power is 47, and 15 of that is just from getting kills with my ult. And you can see once again, a fight breaks out on the minimap, I instantly bird and try to help my team. See if there's anything I can stun. Get a stun on 2 heroes there. It's not a kill, but that still helps a lot because, for instance, Warden was ulting there. Maybe you stunned him, so your teammates got out of range and stuff. But yeah, just kind of walking back and forth, pushing out the lanes. It's not like necessarily the most exciting playstyle. It's very chill. I feel like when I play these very intensive fighting heroes, it's nice to play a Grey Talon game once in a while. Kind of just like the farmer boy who's like responsible for the creep camps on our side of the map. And just like look for pockets where you can push out the lanes, send some birds. And notice once again, the cooldown on the owl is so low that you kind of just want to constantly spam it. Here again, it's 41 seconds. Is taking tier 3 jungle camps not worth it? Usually I wait with tier 3 jungle camps until I have more damage on my charge shot, because it takes extremely long to kill it before I have the improved damage scaling. So in this case, I wouldn't go for the tier 3 camps this early, because I would spend so long killing them, because you have very high burst but not very high sustained damage. And the tier 3 camps are the only ones where sustained damage is better than burst. Until you have maybe maxed out your charge shot, I don't think you're gonna very efficiently clear the tier 3 camps. You don't have a lot of like health regen, you don't really have lifesteal yet. The next thing that happens here, and this is something that's very important in a lot of games, is just fighting over the urn. Because when you look at the souls here, the souls are on 96k to 94k, and a successful hand-in of the urn can double or triple this lead that we have right now. So every time there is an urn in play, a team fight usually breaks out around that urn. And this is where positioning is key, especially for you. I think the reason when you play Grey Talon why people die a lot is simply because they run too far forward because they get eager on trying to like use their charge shots, and then they get jumped, and then what they do is they use their rain of arrows to go up in the air. But when you're up in the air, you don't necessarily get away that easily either. You're just floating there and you're eventually just going to get shot because you're not very tanky. There is also a cool trick where if you press space to cancel your rain of arrows while you're on the way upwards, it actually shoots you up even further. So you can use it as an escape tool by canceling it mid-animation. Anyway, let's see how it turns out here. We see there's a lot of heroes in one little spot, and the urn has been dropped. All right, so I'm just staying on the roof, poking. I'm never fully committing to the fight. I know they have an Abrams. I know they have an Ivy. And the Ivy knows that I have a lot of damage. Do you notice how the Ivy is challenging me on the high ground? And this is usually a sign that they're pretty good players. They are aware of how important the high ground is for heroes like Grey Talon. Oh my god. You guys did not see that. Well, you know what, guys?
Goodbye.
I feel like they deserve that urn after that ult. Yeah, so it looks like they got the urn. So now they're slightly ahead, but we can farm that back in no time. So this isn't necessarily the only way to play Grey Talon, but I'm almost never in the middle of a team fight unless the fight comes to me. I would much rather try to constantly put pressure elsewhere on the map. See, right now I'm going towards pink here to try to help Wraith get a kill on Infernus.
I see Infernus.
Oh, would you look at that? Also, I'm gonna give you guys a little tip with using the owl, because it looks easy, but it's not always that easy. And the reason is that there's a lot of verticality in this game. So for instance, if you're here now, you can see your the minimap here. Let's say that you're gonna hit Infernus across on the other side like this. So if you'll notice, I actually took a path throughout the zip line. And the reason for this is that if you go alongside the zip lines, you have a lot more visibility. But if you go straight across, you will come off a very high building and then you're forced to go straight down. And then you have a much less time to make the correct maneuvers. And because the owl can fly for so long, it means it's usually much more beneficial to try to fly it into one of the lanes and then follow the zip line along. There's only one thing you have to remember, and that is that the enemy creep waves will be traveling on top of the zip lines. So if you're following someone along the zip lines, do not fly directly in the zip line height, because it will crash with the enemy creeps and it will explode your owl. And you can't see the creeps if they're far enough away. They're just invisible. You'll just notice that suddenly your bird blows up and you're like, what the fuck was that? So I'll show you once again. And this is very crucial to landing these owl kills. So we're owling here, and then instead of going in a straight line, we go to the zip line.
I see Infernus.
And now we're following the zip line, and suddenly we have so much vision. See that? Now we're just flying through and we can follow him, and boom. And this is also where communication is extremely important. Tell your teammates to ping the hero that is low. Tell your teammates to tell you when someone is low, because if they ping the hero, it's 10 times easier for you to hit them, because you get a short like wall hack. So also one thing to mention, by the way, if you'll notice now, the way I'm building him is that I already have Boundless Spirit 20 minutes in. And the reason for that is, number one, it increases my attack speed, it increases my movement speed, and it increases my damage. And suddenly now I feel comfortable farming the tier 3 camps, because I now have Boundless Spirit, which is a huge damage increase. And the reason why it's okay to rush Boundless is because of this playstyle. Because you're almost never in the front lines, and you're mostly working on farming and pushing out side lanes and assisting with the bird, you want to have as much spirit and as much movement speed as possible, and as much cooldown reduction as possible. So that is why in this build, that's where the focus is now. You see we have superior cooldown, we have Boundless Spirit, Enchanter's Barrier. Okay, here we have another bird. See, okay, so this is also important. You didn't necessarily get spirit for that one because it wasn't a killing blow, but you did assist your teammate in getting a kill, meaning that you get assist souls for it, and you know, your team gets a kill. Let's take a quick look at the minimap here now. Do you notice one thing? I am always very far away from where all the action happens, and I try to play objectives as well as I can in the meantime. So my team is here, and I know that 7 is there. So then the most logical thing for me is to push this lane. So I'm constantly split pushing with my team because I know that if a fight breaks out, I can still be there with the owl. By split pushing, you gain much more souls overall. You can see that now we have a 14k net worth. I have a pretty solid net worth compared to the rest of my team. Only Hayes has more. And that is because I've been constantly pushing side lanes and doing objectives instead of just constantly being in the fights. For a lot of heroes, this might be called griefing, which is what a lot of McGinnis players do. But because you can still help the team with your owl, it's not that bad. And here is something that is pretty cool. Our team just killed the walker on orange. And because I had already pushed up yellow, now my team can just rotate over and finish this walker as well, super quickly, because I had already pushed up the lane for them. And as soon as I push up the lane for them, notice what I did? I go straight back and I start to clear jungle camps again. I don't need to be there if a fight breaks out. I'd rather stay in the background and instantly going for a bird again. And if you can, this is an enemy creep camp, so it's much more risky, but if you can, try to find spots where you can steal creep camps from the enemy. I know I've mentioned this in my other guides too, but it's also extremely important to always try to deny the enemy's farm. So now we've upgraded some items. We got Mystic Shot, we got Rapid Recharge in here. So now we're kind of slowly turning into a more like fighter. See, now our charge shot is maxed out, does a lot more damage. Our auto attack does a fair amount of damage. Mystic Shot scales with spirit, so it makes perfect sense to have that item in a build that is so spirit focused. But I'm still not participating in fights. And here's another thing. Now that stuff is so pushed up. Oh, here is some like self-criticism, by the way. I'm not trying to say that it's always the right play to never be with your team. Because as you can tell right now, our team was in a fight and they all died and I wasn't there. And this is a tricky balance between knowing when you should be there and when you shouldn't be there, because there is a possibility that we wouldn't have lost that fight if I was actually there. But nonetheless, you'll notice that we still have 20k souls lead, and that is because we are farming much better than them across the entire map. The downside is that now they have the ability to kill mid-boss. So the first thing I did was, as soon as I noticed that they're on mid-boss, I tried to run the urn while they're busy with the mid-boss. Also, by the way, guys, one thing you have to remember is that the mid-boss buff isn't like an end-all be-all buff. Because, yes, it lowers your respawn time, yes, it increases your health, but if you get killed, you still give the same amount of souls to the enemy team. Meaning that it's not necessarily worth it to just throw all your bodies onto the mid-boss and then get the crystal and then get completely wiped. Because yes, you will respawn faster, but the souls lead will actually be bigger for the team that wipes you. So you will respawn faster, but it was actually not that worth it. Let's see what happens here from Ziptie and 5UP's point of view. Okay, he goes in for the... Ah, yes. Ah, yes, that should do it. The haze ult. The spectator's a little bit iffy right now, but I'm a little bit late to the fight as well, but let's see. So what I tried to do with this owl, by the way, even though it didn't work, so this is something pretty cool. Notice how Abrams runs out here. He's actually trying to body block this owl. Because what I want to do with this owl, I want to stun them right as they're about to punch the crystal, so we have an advantage in trying to stealing it from them. Now, Abrams knows this, so he's trying to run out to body block the owl, so it doesn't crash with them. So I try to fly above him, and then I overcorrect, which ends up with the owl crashing into the floor instead of making it all the way. See that? So the Abrams kind of made me overcorrect, and unfortunately, that means we lost the crystal. But then then we start going ham on the guys who are left in there. And now you gotta be very careful because we have no tankiness. So staying in this room is not somewhere you want to be for long. Somehow we're still alive with 60 health here, but that's usually the sign that we should get the hell out of there. But yeah, that was actually not that beneficial for them. They got mid-boss, but they also lost a lot of players. And yes, they will be back soon, but... And we are already running the urn too. See that? Now look at the souls again. 1 second. Oh. See, we just gained like 6k souls from that urn as well. So like, mid-boss isn't always worth it if there are a ton of objectives you can finish instead, especially if you risk also losing quite a lot of teammates while it's all happening. This is where I will call it the late game change for where we switch our playstyle. If you'll notice, we still haven't bought a single defensive item. We still haven't bought anything that helps us in the fray. We are just a glass cannon. So now we are transitioning, and notice the first thing I do, I buy spirit armor, bullet armor, and spirit lifesteal. So this is a sign that it's time to transition into our final form, which is to be more fighter heavy. See that? We got another 5 spirit there. And now we're kind of just preparing for being more in the fights, because you can't just like run around forever and be far away from your team. But the idea is that if you do that in the early and mid game, you will have an extremely high souls count. Your team will be more farmed as a whole, and you will hit your item timings much earlier. I think Grey Talon is one of the best hybrid damage dealers in the game because he scales so well with spirit, and he also gets movement and attack speed. So this is where you could choose to either get more weapon items if you want to focus on your rain of arrows, or you can go down the mystic reverb route and go absolutely ham with the charge shot. Both builds are very effective in their own ways, and it kind of just depends on how you want to play it. So right now I'm just using an owl to scout a little bit. Can't see anyone, so just looking around, didn't find anything. Notice how fast I'm running now too. See, suddenly you're actually you're hitting for 700 with the charge shot. Your movement speed is very fast. You're starting to become pretty scary.
There will be no escape.
And yeah, can't stress this enough. Just keep spamming that bird. Constantly spam the bird. See, that's another double stun.
Taking the shot. Setting snare. Charging.
Look at that damage. Okay, wait. Can we... Let's just see what happens here. Notice how a lot of the time I jump up and I put a trap under me. That's just to try to stop anyone from running into me. But see, now we're suddenly much more comfortable. Also, by the way, this is something that is a little bit cheeky, but it's definitely worth trying to do. See here, Abrams is right under us, and I'm actually just owling right in his face. Like that. But you know what? That's another 5 spirits.
Trap is set. Firing. I'll fire from above.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy, this is a close one. Oh boy. Oh. Yeah, so you'll see that like as soon as I decided that I'm kind of ready to play more around my fighting skills, I instantly bought Spirit Lifesteal and both the Bullet and the Spirit Armor, and suddenly I can tank a little more damage and I can fight toe-to-toe with Abrams and Warden. Now the next thing, I'm pretty sure that I will be buying a Mystic Reverb here and probably selling the extra regen. Now we have Mystic Reverb. Now this is an item that is extremely good on this hero. It gives more spirit lifesteal, it gives more spirit resistance, and increases your ability range as well. And whenever you hit your charge shot, it deals another 40% damage 3 seconds later, and they're also slowed. Because this one does not slow them. So this also helps you get multiple charge shots in a row. And it also just gives you more spirit, just like other spirit items. So suddenly now our movement speed is 14 meters per second, and we're kind of just starting to zoom around. I was debating putting it on the owl. Oh yeah, that's why. There is also an alternative build where you can put the Mystic Reverb on the owl if you're more comfortable with playing more in the backline. But because of how long the cooldown is compared to charge shot, as a general rule of thumb, I do think that you get more value out of the Mystic Reverb on your charge shot. Because at the end of the day, you can't just like stay away from the fights forever. At some point, you're gonna have to be in their base and fighting. And that's kind of the stage we're at now. But I'm still spamming my owl almost off every cooldown. Now I called to haste that we can try to fight Infernus here. So then I send a bird down. And that helps haste a lot. Now we're slowly pushing inwards. And you notice that, look at my positioning here. I am still not in the front lines. No matter how many items I get, I don't want to be in the very front. That is just not where I belong. So we went for an engage there. It didn't go quite as planned, which means that now I should instantly go look for objectives again. So the first thing I do is that I try to grab the urn again, because now that the lanes are pushed up very far, it makes it much easier to run the urn. And even if the lanes are not pushed up very far, you can also just take the urn and just hold on to it for as long as possible. But because my run speed is so fast, and I knew that a lot of people were dead on both sides, I kind of just took a gamble here and just instantly tried to run the urn over in hopes of just like getting some quick extra souls. And this is, I think that this video is a good example of how my opinion is on how Grey Talon should be played. Just slowly increasing value over time. Okay, here we go. Here's another. Oh, once again, see they're body blocking the owl. And once again, they get the mid boss.
They won't know what hit them. Taking a shot.
Oh boy, this is a scary spot to be in. Oh my god.
I see. If I stay on the ground, I'm dead.
Yeah, so the same thing happened as last time, but this time we didn't lose anyone. They went for the mid boss play. They lost 3 of their teammates for it. And maybe even 4. Let's see here. There you go. And it's not necessarily always the best play. I'm not a huge fan of these like suicide mid boss runs. And now I have 11,000 souls. Okay, so here comes the magic carpets. The magic carpets is kind of a meme, but also kind of not. I think I bought it here because I just love flying around on this magic carpet with such a high speed. But there is a usage for this item because you can get away very easily. You're immune to stuns while you're on it. And when you're a squishy hero like Grey Talon, a magic carpet can get you out of sticky situations. It also increases duration of your owl by 10% and gives you some spirit power and health. So it's not like completely useless. Also have to remember that when you land, you still have the bullet and spirit shield. But I did slightly also buy it because we were far ahead and it's just a fun item to use.
The trap is set.
And when you're getting into the super late game, there is no like straightforward rule on what items to buy. Oh my god. Dude, look at that. Now we're so strong that we're just like messing with an Abrams. Look at that. Look at this Abrams. Who do you think you are, buddy? Do you see that? That Abrams had 42k souls. He just punched us into a wall. We just jumped up, lifestealed all the HP back, and then killed him with 2 charged shots. So you do eventually get really strong at fighting too. It's just that to me, it's like a scaling issue where you don't get this strong until very late. So before that happens, I at least prefer to just play him as a very much backliner support, constantly pushing out waves, constantly looking at the map, where is the most objectives I can do. And even now, I'm still not all the way in the front. So here's something that is interesting. When you're in this situation now, there's 4 enemies dead. The patron is the only thing that's left. And then you see that there's a pretty farmed 7 with his ult ready. Now in a lot of lobbies, this is where, especially beginner lobbies, this is where the 7 would just jump out and then suddenly kill 4 people, and suddenly the game will last for another 10 minutes. So why am I standing here? Because I know that 7 is about to use his ults. I instantly go and hide, and I tell my team to stay near cover because I'm gonna cancel 7's ult. So just don't be in the open and just wait for me to cancel 7's ult before it's safe to play again. Yeah, so even though it's only the patron left, you're super exposed in the patron pit, so you don't want to be down there when 7 is ulting. So right now I'm kind of just chilling in the back. I'm trying to just wait for 7. And let's see if he comes. There comes the 7 ult. Now we instantly go hide. I'm not even hiding actually, I'm just sending it instantly. See that? That was their last win condition there. So now we know that it's safe to go into the pit. Oh my god, it's so much damage. Oh my god. See there? Oh, the magic carpet. The magic carpet escape. But yeah, this is pretty much how the late game looks. You gotta be very careful because you're still very squishy. And even this late, I'm still making sure that I'm just farming out everything. Now we're 40k ahead. So here is... This is like kind of, I guess, kind of a desperation play. But I think what happened here was that we were fairly pushed up. So they tried to go for the split push. So split pushing is a very powerful way of applying pressure all the way across the map, but it also makes you much more vulnerable to getting killed in like an unfavorable position. So if you look at the map here, you'll see that 3 of their teammates are all the way back here and the other 3 are here. The reason why these guys split push in the first place, I think, is because a few seconds ago, we were not that close to the base. We were all the way over here. But because the zip lines are pushed in, you can speed back to the base really fast, which makes the split pushing this late very risky. So now you'll see what happens. And this is a very risky play for them. It's just 2 of them here, see? And now we're collapsing like a circle around them. And I just did 2,000 damage to Ivy in like a second. And yeah, suddenly it's not looking so great for them because they have no more protection in the base. So this is actually a pretty important fight down here. Because both teams have a few dead. Oh. Oh my god. He got destroyed. This late in the game, when everybody has this many souls, the respawn timers are much longer. And these small interactions where both teams can lose 1 or 2 players can usually be the deciding factor between winning or losing.
Arrows knocked.
Now that I'm much stronger and I have a magic carpet, I also feel extremely confident in split pushing. Oh, let's see, here's an Ivy. Oh wait, I remember this fight. Wait, we both have so much lifesteal. Look at this.
Time for evasive tactics.
We're both like, never mind, fuck it.
Targets marked.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh. Yeah, in the meantime, they pushed the base. So, yeah, that concludes my guide on Grey Talon. I hope this was informational for you. I know that my guides are a little bit different than most guides in the way that it's technically a VOD review. It is based on the understanding I have of this hero's toolkit, and I'm sure there are many other ways of playing him too. But hopefully this helps you in improving your Grey Talon gameplay, because it is one of the lowest win rate heroes in the game, but I do really think he's stronger than people think. I just think that there are a lot of people that don't necessarily play him in the most ideal way. And yeah, don't forget to leave a comment down below if you liked this guide and tell me what guide you want to see next. And don't forget to subscribe, because I know a lot of you are not. And I'll see you in the next video very soon. Don't forget to check out my stream and both my main and second channel for daily upload for more Deadlock. Goodbye.